Hello, this is Chrystal Meach with Tao of the Heart YouTube channel. And today I have guest Rebecca Rose Barfoot. And so I'm going to give a little background quick on Rebecca. Rebecca's been channeling for me since 2019.
Well, that's a while, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for having me, Chrystal. This is a new experience for me, so I'm appreciating being here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great because it's as the client to give you the feedback of all your work. It's
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So the tools that we've been using is going into the Akashic Records. And could you talk a little bit about what the Akashic Records are?
Yeah, it's a library of everything. I sometimes just call it the quantum field, or the Akashic record more formally is the record of the soul's journey, at least as I read it and as I experience it. That's my like kind of how I know it over the years of working with clients and with myself. It's like our incarnations and what we've chosen to learn and where we've been and our connections over time and just so many things. I know the Tibetans call it as the sky library, like the repository of all information in a way. So just in a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah, so when you go to an Akashic session like yours, so usually the client has some questions
Yeah.
and they give them to you before, and then you meet and can you kind of
Yeah.
describe how it
Yeah,
works?
well, sometimes when we do a session, like I know when we started working together, you'd have a lot of questions like written out and ready, right? And then sometimes though, people come as a blank slate and don't have any like particular query. They want to see what's coming through naturally for them. So yeah, there's either way to go about it, and I don't need to know the questions in advance. When we get to the hall of records, so to say, everything kind of opens. Yeah, yeah.
And it kind of opens in the body first,
Yeah,
right?
how I read all the information as I've gone through this over time, it just seems to come through as I read the energy field of my client, the energy body, and all the chakras, all the different components of energy. So this over. Yeah, it seems like it's definitely something we could say that comes through the body, but more apt and to the point, I would say, and precisely the energy body. Yeah,
And that's really where we wanted to get to at the heart of the matter here
yeah.
was energy, because by working with you, I was able to change my energetic field and
Mm.
really heal some of the wounds that I was carrying.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that changed a lot of outcomes in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for saying that because it allows me to also reflect back, like on I couldn't do any of the work that I've done with all of you and my clients without having done the work myself. Like I can't, I always feel, and I say this, I can't take anybody where I haven't been, in a way. So this is to say to you, you're like, and I've been on a huge journey myself over the years that led me really to this work. So I appreciate that feedback, that you say things have clarified for you a lot. And that's true for all of us, myself included. Yeah.
Yeah, and so back in 2019, Rebecca was in the Himalayan mountains and she did a recording. I wasn't there, and well, I was kind of there.
To clarify for your audience, some of my sessions, book live and we speak one on one in the present moment, and some of them I record remotely without the client there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that 2019 session, it was like layers and layers of information came through. And even today, I'm still working with that session, and I can
Uh,
certainly post it on my YouTube channel. But what's so amazing is I think we were going to talk about the abundance codes that
yeah.
seem to run through all the sessions.
Okay, yeah. And what's funny too is like I know from our correspondence that you usually transcribe verbatim, word for word, everything that comes through. Because I, as the channel, don't always remember everything that's said. And I'm like, oh, abundance codes, what were we talking about? I don't remember everything like, word for word. So it's great that you have that, and that you're going back to sessions that are now years old, but still gathering, like, things from the garden there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting how you get a session and then it just kind of unfolds. And the more you become conscious, the more it unfolds for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the last session, which was, I think it was in April
Yeah.
that I did with you.
Yeah.
So we were talking about previous session in that session.
Okay. Yes. I remember this. Yeah.
Yep. So that was a past life. And so previously she was talking about a past life where, oh my gosh. So basically, I was a child in that past life and I was killed in front of my mother.
Yeah. I remember this session. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you're like, well, what's the link between that life and what I'm working on right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all heart work. So, even if you don't believe that that happened, if you don't believe, or maybe you think it's a dream, I don't know. Everyone has a different view of consciousness. But for me, it was like, what was the lesson that I was supposed to heal from there?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still, I mean, it's unfolding like even today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounded like it. You sent me a message earlier, and like something was profound. I could see that had catalyzed something for you. And to your point, I know not everybody, maybe not all your viewers are, necessarily aware of past lives, or maybe like skeptical about that. But yeah, so much comes through the records, and I do believe that we've all lived. This isn't our first rodeo here. We've had many incarnations, most of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's profound about your work is that you have the space for a person to be vulnerable
Mm,
enough to go to that level.
yeah. Yeah.
So maybe you could talk about, like that capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people say to me, and I have clients who come back for readings to kind of keep them on course with their development and their healing journey and their, manifestation of their dream life, so to say. They come back because they feel safe. And I feel like this goes take it back into the vulnerability I've exposed myself to internally on my own healing journey of having to be very learning compassion for myself and what I've been through, in my early life and kind of damages incurred there and recovery from things and, extraterrestrial abduction and kind of crazy stuff that I really had to. I'm a meditator, and I think through the development of compassion and empathy for myself on the cushion and off the cushion, meditation cushion, I've learned that for others, and that's a big part of like. I think the space I hold or hope to hold or aspire to hold, that's the feedback I get is that people really feel held there. And it's not further, I would also say it's really not just me. It's not me. I'm kind of creating that container, but it's also the client's higher self, the guides, and so much that's going on there, quite a synergy of different frequencies at play. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as the client over the years, well, first of all, I had like a ton of questions. First, well, I always have a ton of questions,
Me too. Yeah. We're human. Yeah.
but to be able to work with those sessions over and over again, they've helped me build a frequency to where when things happen in my life, it snaps. Like
Mm.
it might be, shit just hit the fan,
Yeah. Yeah.
keep going
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
um, sitting in it.
Yeah.
And um, it's come back to that inner child connection
Mm. Mhm, 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 mhm.
where um, that child didn't know what to do
Yeah.
back back in that lifetime and then back in this lifetime here.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the healing is the acceptance, the vulnerability, and the empathy, the realizing you're not responsible for others.
Yeah.
There's just so many lessons that come out of you're channeling.
Well, and also you've been really devoted to your own path and like mining those sessions, listening to the audio recording and really getting the deeper layers. Once you listen to a session a few times, like, oh yeah, there's something really unfolding. Like when I say to somebody, here's your 1 hour recording, and there's about 10 hours, like a zip file, unfolding, or an accordion. There's way more information when you get into the layers. It's not just linear information. There's also, as you said, we could talk about ascension codes and higher frequencies and, the light language that comes through. There's so much there, but also to reflect back your due diligence. And you've been very, single pointed on your path, I feel. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, and even when I give people that 2019 session,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, what the heck is this?
What is this? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And at first I was too, but I was like, now light language is becoming more common,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to feel into the frequency of that light language. It's not about translating it
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
It's about the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that really brings you back to your power. And
Yeah.
for me, it's realizing you're always in your power.
Mm.
It's what are you going to choose?
Yeah.
Are you going
Yeah.
to choose to be a
Yeah.
victim? Are you going to choose to overcome? And some people can't even consciously conceptualize that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
took me years to get to that point where I could conceptualize, oh, I'm
Hmm.
I'm reenacting this wound with this partner.
Yeah. 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 We do reenactments and we kind of play through things on like a tape on repeat, like as we go through lifetimes, and also each incarnation, we kind of like want to get this theme kind of dialed in. Like I want to understand this better. So like you said, yeah, we recreate it with natal family or partners or something, or some part of our relationship with ourselves, that is actually really calling to be shifted, or we could say healed. Yeah. And to your point about the inner child work, a lot of times that can seem so foreign to folks. And I do inner child sessions, and certainly that came up in the Akashic Records with you. And I've done a lot of work with my own child parts to become who I am now. But it's actually such a deep soul retrieval type of work, I find. Yeah. In a way too, the past life exploration too is like, oh wow, because we're calling our, not just our woundedness but also our wisdom back to us, in this environment in which so many of us, in this what we could call the matrix reality, or the 3D iteration of this earth stream that we're living through and part of, we can feel so disempowered and lacking in sovereignty. But what I hear you also saying is that you have learned to see through like victim and the victim sort of identity, or like that we are powerless in some way and don't have any say in what's going on in our own journey. When I've seen so much shift in you and in myself and so many people I work with, I think there's so much going on that's so beautiful and again empowering on this planet right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and back in 2019, if you would have said to me that I was choosing disempowerment
Mm.
as my power, I would have been like,
Yeah. 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 Yes, for all of us, like we don't understand maybe how, and that can sound harsh, you're choosing your path because you have certain things to learn, and like, well, no, I didn't choose to lose my house or lose my child or die of this terrible illness. In the Akashic Records, this by now, we look at the soul picture, with like the big, get out the big lines of macro lens and look at what's actually going on from that perspective. And the soul chooses to explore things that our 3D human self, this avatar might go, no, 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 I didn't choose that. But in fact, in a bigger, in the bigger sense, we do choose certain things. At least that's my observation through working with hundreds and thousands of clients at this point, and my own self being primary within that. It does seem like we have a hand in our own, the cards we're holding in our lives. Yeah.
yeah, and the freedom of being in that space of, like at one point you were a victim in this, say it's like a relationship. The
Yeah.
where you're like, I chose this relationship over and over again. And to see the other side of that piece of understanding, I chose it.
Mhm.
So now I get to choose something different.
Yeah. 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 You said it. So it sounds so simple, doesn't it? Like I chose, and then I get to pivot and choose something different. Like we don't keep having to do the same thing. Once you get to the lesson, like, yeah, do whatever you want. And that's the beautiful thing. Like, I come from a background where people in my extended family, like, you make a decision, you stay with it forever, you can dig your grave and lie in it kind of mentality. It's like, no, no, no. We're constantly pivoting here, adjusting our sails as we go in a gentle way to accommodate the lessons and the learnings and the beauty and the joy and all the ultimately freedom that do exist for us here. So I love how you're, speaking to that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like being able to really, well, first of all, it's being conscious that it's even going on.
Yeah.
It's like, secondly, okay, now I have a choice. And, I always tell clients of my own that it's kind of like when you want to smoke a cigarette. Like, I mean, I never smoked, but like people that need a cigarette,
Yeah.
you know when they need a cigarette. And to have the space to be like, hey, how is that empowering me right now to have that cigarette?
Yeah. 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 I mean, you're saying so much there in the way that the subconscious mind is such a powerful driver. I read over and over in, research studies that, like, the conscious mind really runs only several percent of what's happening for us. The subconscious is maybe 97% of what goes on for us. So when we can get in underneath and, the surface level and start to kind of recondition those old limiting beliefs, or, so many varieties of that, so many examples that we have of that it is so empowering to choose something new, as you already said. Yeah.
And then I think I wanted to talk a little bit about the abundance codes that were
Yeah.
coming through too.
Yeah.
We put so much into these 19 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the abundance codes for me, and I'm like going deep here, it's really understanding how um you have it within you, not outside of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. That's the primary teaching that everything you have for need for the journey is really written inside of you. And, like, so how do you understand the abundance codes? I mean, is that the pith of the matter? Is that everything you need is right here?
It's, well, there's this from Paul Foster Case, there's this line that's all the power that ever was or will be is here now. And so for me and the abundance codes, because I've had total financial crazy issues, it was coming down to self-worth. So it was safe for me to be disempowered.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was so bang on. Yep. Yeah. I think a lot of people listening can relate to that. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm digging deep here, trying to get to it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So the hard part for me was, what if I am loved? So yeah, I think we can kind of end there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Put your information down below so anyone can book. She has a website and a YouTube channel, and you're on Telegram. And is there anything else you want to add? Thank you so much.